Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 111 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joining me the rest of the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing on this beautiful Sunday evening?
Ray, I did the math. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. This is episode 111. If you turn the 3 upside down, it looks like the top of a heart. And if you make a heart another top, you get the little flying cloud from the Mario Brothers. What does this mean for today's show? Absolutely nothing. I just made it up on the spot. But that's what I do, Ray. And that's my job on the show. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually tired. I've been getting up early all week for... we did some morning streams over on twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo. They were fine. Going to go back to night times, though. Also, it's been a lot of press conferences for the past several days for E3. We're going to get into all of that. We got a big show for you, folks. Obviously, Loki episode 1. We've got a lot of Marvel movie rumors. We've got NHL and NBA playoffs. And, of course, we have our mashup of the week. So we've got a lot to get into, so we're going to get right into it. As I mentioned, the E3 pressers have been going on. Now, this will be broken into 2 parts. We're going to talk about Square Enix and Ubisoft and Microsoft today. Nintendo has not gone yet. They're not going till Tuesday, which is typical for them. So we will talk about more Nintendo specifically, as Lee has his Nintendo 64 shirt on. I have my E3 shirt on. So even though E3 is not happening, it's sort of happening. They're calling it E3, but let's be honest, it's just a bunch of press conferences bundled together right now. It's not really E3.
It's Dig-E3.
Yes, there you go. Well done, Lee. Well done. Yes, that is the.
It's what I do. Thank you, Ray. I'd like to thank the Academy of Geekdom for letting me have this platform. And just remember, you can do it too. Believe in yourself.
There you go. Wise words from a wise man. But yeah, we've got a you just roll off that way. Yeah, no. We've got a lot of games to break down. The first big one, which EA is doing a more in-depth press conference in July, but they did come out and do their own thing for Battlefield 2042. It will feature 128 players potentially, so 64 match versus 64 matches. It's only multiplayer, no campaign this go around. It's set, obviously, by the title, 2042. It's set in the near future, so it's going to be more modern landscapes, but there's also going to be some weather patterns and whatnot, possibly kind of borrowed from some other games out there. But obviously, the idea is that climate change has gotten worse, so some of these cities might suddenly have a tornado drop in them, or a fire tornado. I wonder what they're referencing there. And when you're in the middle of the map, so that could add some extra chaos along with already the classic unbelievable Frostbite engine destructionality. But that was a great way to get things started. Even though we knew it was coming, it was great to see it in action, or at least to see the cinematics in action. And yeah, Battlefield 2042. I know our buddy Casey is super pumped for this. I am okay. I'm fine. I don't like multiplayer-only games personally, but that's me.
If you love that type of game, it's going to be great.
Right.
It's just, that's exactly how you like it. If you like that type of game, you're going to love it.
Right. Exactly. So, and then Ubisoft, their big reveal was this is something that's been rumored for a long time. It was originally called Rainbow Six Quarantine. It's now called Rainbow Six Extraction. It's kind of spinning off of the Rainbow Six Siege game. It is PvE, so it is no longer 4v4 or 5v5. It is no longer multiplayer. It is a 3-team co-op squad against the environment. The idea is that there's some kind of alien virus that kind of is taking over. You have to go into certain extraction points, get people out, get away from the virus. There's zombies, and this is really a theme for E3 this year. It's zombies, it's deadites, it's vampires, it's 3D the environment. It's a lot of games and a lot of companies see the appeal of PvE. Obviously, something a lot of the fans have wanted and very gravitated towards, and it's something that we haven't had a lot of in a while. So now, to overcompensate, we're basically getting 4 of those games in about a 6-month span, kicking off with this game, which is dropping in September from Ubisoft.
Right, just in case the audience doesn't know what PvE is.
Oh, players versus the environment. So instead of PvE,
you did say that. I just want to make sure we
players versus players. So this is PvE. It's the players, a co-op squad against the computer. But again, we've got
because it's always fun with friends.
Yes, no, that's true. It is, but there's also, again, I think there's something to be said for a story. But again, I think a lot of it's going to be a lot of humor and a lot of writing is going to come down to this
Yeah.
for some of these games, depending on the games. We know Back for Blood, of course, the game that I'm working on, Evil Dead. We've also got Asparagus or whatever it's called. I forget the name of it.
Asparagus. Got it. Right?
It's not the Asparagus. Another game that's taking place in
It's
zombies
man
in
versus
space.
environment. Anyone who has kids know that player versus environment against asparagus, a young child against asparagus, is a PvE game in itself.
Yeah.
You may win sometimes. Most times you don't.
Yeah, there's also another game announced today, also by Arcane Studios Bethesda, where it's players versus vampires. So we're getting at least in the next year or so, probably 5 or 6 of these experiences, and like 4 of them in the next 6 months. So
Yeah,
is
it's a fun. Look. It's kind of the evolution of the co-op space, right? Like people like playing together, working together. People want to work together. They don't want to just kill each other. You know, I was playing Knockout City this week, Ray, and I had a lot of fun with that game. It's been out for a little bit on obviously on Game Pass, but
Right.
like again, that's a PvP, but you know, working in teams, it's fun. I enjoy stuff like that, especially when you can work together.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious to see how that was. I know that's on Game Pass. I haven't played it yet. I know Casey has been pushing some of us to try it out.
It's dodgeball. It's just dodgeball. Yeah. It's a fun kind of, like I said, it's just a fun game. If you go any further than that, you're not gonna like it.
Yeah. So I have heard about that, but yeah, that's again everything right now in games. Not everything, but everything. A lot of stuff is very multiplayer oriented, very multiplayer heavy, which is why it was actually very good to hear from our friends over at Bethesda and also from Square Enix. Actually, some single player games. We'll start off actually with Square Enix because they didn't have much to show. Mostly
I wonder why.
Yeah. Most of their stuff was JRPG related, but the big thing they came out with was something that was rumored several years ago. Was, of course, it's finally they revealed and confirmed what had been rumored. Their single-player Marvel experience. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, as we expected. You play as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, and in a very interesting turn, you use your modifiers. You can use the D-pad to control and command, basically, the other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Groot, Rocket Raccoon, Gamora, and Drax. And basically, there's this campaign where it starts off. They show off the first level, basically, where you head to the planet of Lady Hellbender, who's a lesser-known villain from the comics. You pretend to sell off Groot in order to get back to solve some of your space debt. And, of course, hijinks ensue from there. Lots of licensed music, lots of fun. They really seem to get the feel of Guardians, but it looks a lot to me like Marvel Ultimate Alliance in a way, but just like on steroids, pumped up a bit more. I don't know if it's taking the full advantage of the new hardware, but it looks like a fun single-player experience, and again, good to see them doing more with stories, considering how meh Avengers was after that story ended.
Right. Well, it doesn't seem like they're going to go anywhere else with Avengers, but that was just a kicking off point.
Yeah, they mentioned they mentioned Black Panther, the DLC for that is coming, but it's all Avengers is so formulaic at this point, and it's not living up to the hype as a games as a service because, again, for Marvel in particular, people care about the story and care about the characters, and playing the same 3 bosses over and over and over again gets old super fast.
It's true.
So, but the big right now, the big shots fired in the games industry is it's all about Microsoft. It's all about Xbox. It's all about Bethesda. Bethesda absolutely dominated. They announced we had Outer Worlds 2 coming from Obsidian. Bethesda announced Starfield will be a Microsoft exclusive. They also announced the release date for next year. They also announced that it will be a Game Pass Day 1 game, which is a huge deal. Microsoft showed off 30 games today. 27 of them will be available Day 1 on Game Pass. That is a huge, huge deal as they continue to put forward Game Pass as the way to play games and play games first. And even me as a gamer, I love like experimenting with games, but there were games that I might not have picked up just because of the busyness of the season. Like there's one game called 12 Minutes where you're in this infinite 12-minute time loop, and I'm like, that looks like a fun game, but I don't know if I dropped $20 on it. That's a Game Pass game. So the fact that they're putting on like not only the big titles, but also some of the smaller indies kind of is going to allow some of these games to thrive, as well as to again offer a huge bang for your subscription buck. I mean, even that last night I played a game from 5 years ago I had missed and beat it just because I could, because it's on Game Pass. I mean, there's that. They announced Forza Horizon 5 going down to Mexico this year. That's a huge deal, of course. And also, I'm going to say it right now, the best-looking game on new-gen consoles. Forza Horizon is doing everything it can to push that engine. I swear, folks, it is so photorealistic that we have crossed the uncanny valley. It is that super photorealistic Forza Horizon 5. It looks that good on a 4K TV. And this was even for your YouTube, which obviously downscales things. But folks, I think this game is going to blow people's minds in terms of graphics.
I'm looking it up right now. Forza Horizon.
They announced Stalker 2. They also announced some cute tie-ins. Pirates of the Caribbean is doing a DLC tie-in with Sea of Thieves, which makes perfect sense. Top Gun Maverick is doing a DLC tie-in with Flight Simulator, which makes perfect sense. Microsoft just absolutely came out swinging. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. They showed off games like Psychonauts 2. They showed off a whole bunch of other titles. Again, it's just absolutely phenomenal job there. Microsoft stealing the show thus far. I mean, again, not to say Nintendo can't come out guns a-blazing on Tuesday, but right now, for everybody who said Microsoft doesn't have any games, they have all the games now. They have all the games, and most of them are on Game Pass. So, and we haven't even got to the big news that we're going to get to that second. We're going to talk about I want to focus on the games first, though. Plus, of course, obviously, Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76, are getting updates and all that other stuff. But Lee, what are your thoughts on the Xbox showcase this morning?
Ray, I'm watching the Forza Horizon 5 trailer right now, and I'll tell you this: that the only way you know this is a game is maybe when things are moving. If nothing was moving and it was just a pan, there's no way you would be able to tell the difference between this and reality. There's no way. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, again, you can tell it's a game, but like there's no way you'd be able to differentiate right now from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, it's...
Even in some of these shots. Keep in mind, the shots are very gamey. I mean, they're doing stuff you wouldn't normally do. If this is just a shot of a car driving, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Wow. My thoughts are that anybody on the Sony side of things, not that I am your enemy, but I'll just say that my prediction is looking more and more solid by the day right now. That's all I'm going to say about Microsoft. There will not be consoles probably after this generation. Microsoft kind of said that we're not going to need consoles after this generation. Thus making me a predictor of the future. Do I have a time stone? Maybe. I'm not telling you guys that. All right? But I'm telling you, I've been in the future, and there's no times. You don't need those, man. Money won't help you. But look, I'm just telling you, I said this. I'm patting myself on the back. I said there would not be another console generation and that Microsoft is taking over, and the signs are there. We've had guests on the show that said, no, Sony's not going anywhere. Guy, the writing is on the wall. Ray, even you have to admit now this is kind of even more obvious than it was prior. Game Pass was not a little thing. That's the future of gaming.
Yeah.
I want to say that again. It's the future of gaming. It's not just a subscription service. It's the future of gaming. Yeah. Day one releases on new systems. I mean, wake up, people.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's at the point where, like, Nintendo's played around with this with the Nintendo Online and some of their classics, but it's at the point where even Nintendo, if Microsoft can get things playing on your phone perfectly, which something they've dabbled with, even Nintendo, who of course dominates the portable market, might be wanting to start worrying because it does seem to be it's a world of convenience, and video games being at the forefront of that technology, and Microsoft being at the forefront of that technology, and obviously marrying Xbox to Windows so tightly now. So you have both that PC. Very few games are just PC. Very few games are just Xbox. That ecosystem is really thriving.
Right, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the point I keep trying to make. Is like again, sometimes people can't see past their own past, right? Like, oh, I've just been on consoles my whole life. You guys, you're looking at the future right now. It's obvious where this is going. And again, look, Casey showed me his Razer Kishi before. He can play his Xbox games on his phone right now.
Yeah.
So the technology has just caught up, and we're talking 7-8 years from the next generation. What do you think phones are going to be at that point? Mm-hmm. This is the last console generation. All right, Sony may put one more out. This is where I would say it would change. This is funny because I'm going to actually retract it. I was wrong. Sony may put out another console. Microsoft is not going to put out another console because they're not going to need one.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Sony might just do it,
Yeah.
you know, to say that there's something different. But the writing's on the wall. And look, I'm not saying Sony doesn't have something in their back pocket, but they have not released anything close to Game Pass, and they have not made the acquisitions that Microsoft has made. I don't see how they're not just a game distributor in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say. Also, really quickly, we do want to mention a couple. The Crucis is that other zombie space game that I was talking about. I got that title. But quickly, Halo got confirmed, will drop this year. That is also obviously a big deal. Halo 6, Halo Infinite will be out this year. Ubisoft's other big thing, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Didn't know we need a sequel to that, but now that I saw it in action, I'm looking forward to that a lot. And Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which will come to all systems. That's a spin-off of Borderlands, a fantasy-based loot shooter. Should be a lot of fun. Other highlights. But yeah, the big story here, another big story is that Microsoft basically said their goal is that within the next 10 years, the next console generation, is not to put out a console, but to have an Xbox app basically on every internet-connected television, which basically all new televisions are.
Right.
And so that you can just play your games. So basically, they're like, again, we talked about this before in the show. Stadia, Luna with Amazon, these are the future. But because they're the first ones through the wall, they're getting the most bloodied. Microsoft is basically saying, when the time is right, we're going to go that direction too, but it'll be better, and we'll be more prepared because we're letting all these other guys. We're learning from the mistakes of Google and Amazon. And
Ray, do you think Apple will buy Sony and incorporate PlayStation games into the Apple games,
into like Apple TV and stuff? I mean, that could happen.
No, Apple Games exists. Listen, here's the deal. This is how I'm going to play it. I'll be a little bit of a futurist here. I'm not saying I'm right. You want a bold prediction? Microsoft takes over like they have. Sony sells itself to Apple. So basically, if you want PlayStation, you got to be on Apple Games. Yep. And then last time I checked, I think Apple has 60 to 70% of the mobile market. Yeah. That's how you compete.
Yeah. It'd be
God of War on your iPhone, I would do it.
Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing is Nintendo will be the little engine that'll keep you chugging along because Nintendo has...
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Because Nintendo has the most beloved IP. That's the one thing that Microsoft and Sony have their own beloved IP, but not as much as Nintendo has. So Nintendo can kind of keep beating to their own drum for a while until they figure out...
Nintendo has a mouse. Yeah, they have a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you see Nintendo. That's why you see Nintendo partnering with things like Universal and building Super Mario Land attractions and things of that nature.
Square Enix has a Hulk.
Yeah.
Nintendo has a mouse.
Nintendo has a mouse. So yeah, I mean, obviously, folks, it's Mario is probably more popular than Mickey Mouse at this point worldwide. I would argue.
That's probably. I mean, he's right there with him. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. At the
and
very least.
We're not even talking about Link, and Zelda, too. It's
and Donkey Kong and Samus and all of them, right? Everybody in Smash Brothers is basically like Nintendo's got all these feathers in their cap that, like, if Nintendo comes out on Tuesday and gives it and says Breath of the Wild 2 Christmas, everyone's going to say Nintendo won E3, at least for the present. Like, Microsoft is thinking the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, this is the deal. In 2031, we will not have consoles or handhelds. You will have a device that connects to another device, which you already have, and all of your games will be downloaded on that device or on that network. Yeah. Again, I can't be the only one that's predicting this. I just think the writing is on the wall, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, especially in business, things can go left and right. But I mean, like I said, when the PlayStation fans fight me, and I have nothing against PlayStation, I can't say that enough. But you're delusional. Yeah. They're making billion-dollar acquisitions over at Microsoft. They're telling you what they're gonna do. You can't. If you fight that, you're gonna be on the wrong side of it.
Yeah. No, I mean it's completely fair. Honestly, I mean I think at this point with a lot of the Sony folks, and again, it's this classic tribalism, and instead of looking at the writing on the wall, and it's something that I've always dealt with in geekdom, right? Whenever you say something that is different from the status quo, people have a tough time typically wrapping their head around it.
I made a living on that.
No, I know, but I'm saying look. I mean, again, most folks. I mean, I saw it today. All the Sony haters who are still coming out against Microsoft.
I don't hate Sony. Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to say. That war is over. It's been over. You're fighting a war that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? This is like the aftermath of like World War II. Like the world economy is tied together.
Yeah.
You don't have to root for anybody anymore. We're all tied together now. You just go live where you want to live and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just don't go to North Korea. That's my only.
Yeah, there's still a couple places that's like the North Korea is like the Ouya of.
That's like the only place I wouldn't live right now, I think, in the world.
Yeah, no, there's a couple, but actually,
yeah.
Quick tangent. Did you see the Dark Side of the Ring on the what is it, Clash in Korea or whatever it was called, where WCW went and did a show in North Korea?
No.
Oh my goodness! If you get a chance to see that, Lee, you have to watch that because
please tell me that it was horrible for them.
Oh, it was horrendous. They almost didn't come back alive. Eric Bischoff feared for his life. Like,
yeah, I don't know what was he thinking with that.
Well,
it's almost like when Hulk Hogan poked Nash and he flew across the ring.
Well, I mean, the only thing is that the thing he was thinking was that they have a 300,000 seat stadium and he sold it out. So,
idiot.
Yeah.
Look, man, you don't go to North Korea. It's funny, Ray. Another side tangent. There was a video creator, went to North Korea to talk about hockey because the Olympics were over there.
Yeah.
And he comes back and he's talking to camera. He's like, "It's wonderful here in North Korea. They really take care of their athletes." Like he just keeps talking. I'm like, dude, what gun did they put to your head to make this? It's obviously that you're lying.
The crazy thing. No, that's the crazy thing is that in the Dark Side of the Ring episode, they say they were forced to talk about how good North Korea was.
Right, it's part of it.
Literally, like their lives were literally threatened several times. They had their passports temporarily revoked. Like they were literally like the wrestlers who are still living because they were like Hawk from the Road Warriors went. Obviously, he's no longer with us.
He's gone.
But like several of the wrestlers who talked on camera about it, they're like, yeah. No, I said one bad word and literally got taken to a dark room, got beaten within an inch of my life, and said if I ever said anything bad again of North Korea, I would not be going home. So he was like, yeah, it was the most. Like they said, Ric Flair got down on his hands and knees when they got back to Japan because that was the only way they could get there directly, and they had to go on like a cargo plane. Like there's no commercial flights to North Korea.
Yeah, there's no way in, and you got to go through the parallel to land there or get extreme permission, and I got shut down. Right. Look, Ray, I'll tell you this real quick. We have a mutual connection that I'll just say this: we both know him. He's a friend of mine primarily, and he was invited to North Korea to film something, and he was seriously considering it. And I told him, do not take that gig. He goes, well, they're offering this? I'm like, yes. And should they pay you the money, that's a big should, you'll be lucky to get out of there alive.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not kidding. They'll put a gun to your head. They'll tell you what to do. They're probably listening to this podcast right now. So now we're going to be blackballed. Yeah. I convinced them not to go. I was like, dude, I don't care what they offer. I don't care if they offer you $5 million. You don't go there.
Yeah.
It is not safe, period.
Yeah, no, I mean, they talked about it again. Ric Flair got down on his hands and knees and kissed the Japanese ground as soon as he landed because he was so and Ric Flair dealt with so much in his life, and like they even said that like Ric Flair was terrified the whole trip. Like, just
the only person who's ever survived North Korea and lived to tell about it really well is Dennis Rodman, and he has nothing bad to say about them for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's probably a god over there.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, anyway. So anyway, that was a nice tangent. But yeah, video games, E3.
State of North Korea video game.
Yeah, so E3 was as so far E3 / Summer Game Fest because it's been kind of a mix where Jeff Keighley's doing his thing that kind of is encompassing E3. It's weird with everything being fully digital now. I look forward to next year when everything gets back to normal. But yeah, E3 kicking off pretty good. We'll have our full report on Nintendo next week. But Microsoft comes out guns a-blazing here this morning. An hour and a half of just absolute bombs. Just right hook after left hook after uppercut. And how the rest of the industry is going to react will be interesting. Sony's supposedly doing a show.
They're not going to.
Probably not. Sony's going to have a show next month. It'll be curious to see what they do.
God of War.
Yeah, it's going to be God of War. And
Uncharted!
Not to say Sony doesn't... I mean, Sony has great games. There's no denying this.
There's no denying it.
But their business model is starting to show
the Pittsburgh Pirates have great games sometimes.
Yeah.
They do every once in a while. They'll put a game together.
There you go. So, oh, goodness gracious. So, moving on now from video games to one of our other favorite topics, comic books, of course, TV. Typically, only E3 could supplant what dropped this past week. Of course, we're talking about Loki, episode 1.
Oh, Loki. It's called Loki. Loki.
Glorious purpose.
God of mischiefs.
The god, yes. He's a mischievous scamp. But yeah, this was a terrific first episode. Probably the best first episode of the TV series done so far.
Easily.
For Marvel.
Easily the best.
It's clearly setting up everything for the next phase. Yeah. From Spider-Man to Doctor Strange to all of these pieces are falling into place. They've constantly hit on the idea of the multiverse and the Nexus very much in this first episode. They talk about the sacred timeline, which is the right timeline, in that they allowed the event, how the timekeepers, the Time Variance Authority, allowed the Avengers to go back in time and stop Thanos. Absolutely phenomenal. So much that can be going on here from Ravone. I mean, we're going to get into it. Lee, what are your thoughts on this first episode?
It's theory time, where we make bold predictions that probably won't come true.
Yes.
I will say spoilers, too. Look, you saw the episode, or you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast. And if you didn't see the episode, what the hell is wrong with you? Go watch this thing right now. Here's the deal. I'm not going to describe the episode. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to assume you've seen it. This is my baseline theory. All right. One is that the sacred timeline is going to be blown up at the end of this, thus exposing the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the multiverse. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Loki is going to break that wide open. I think the sacred timeline sounds kind of cruel. I think that they paint the TVA as kind of the heroes, or like, the authority. But I think at the end of the day that, there's only one timeline. They kind of tease Loki that you're just meant to be there and to make everybody better. It gives you a little bit of sympathy for him. They also hint that the timeline repeats itself again and again and again. They said that in the episode. You do this again and again and again. So I think that's the purpose of this show is to launch Phase 4 into the multiverse has been exposed. Ray, I was thinking today, and a very curious thought popped in my head. I don't want to put this down as a prediction, but I do want to share it because I thought about it. I was like, man, that would be an interesting twist, right? And I'll tell you how this grew in my head. In the very first scene of the show, they show the end of Endgame, and the first scene we see is obviously 2012 ending, and they have Loki, and he shapeshifts into Captain America, and says, what was that line he says? Coordinating search and rescue. They purposely showed that again. Right. And I remember when we were watching, I said, like, oh, it's funny. His scars don't go away when he transforms to somebody else. It was very purposeful that they showed us that. I was kind of surprised they zoomed in. I don't know if it might have just been they had the extra footage. But I think maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe not. So that reminded me, though, that Loki can transform into whoever he wants.
Yeah.
What if Owen Wilson's character is Loki?
That's possible. I mean, here's the thing.
He seems to know him better than anyone else. He knows exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at the end of the show if it's revealed that Owen Wilson's character is actually Loki as well. Another Loki.
I mean, that's possible. Because, again, the big reveal here at the end, folks, which we all kind of saw coming very early on. We were able to predict that.
Easily.
It's Loki versus Loki. What version is evil Loki?
Loki's.
Right, we don't know.
I think there's way more than two of them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Like, is it Lady Loki? People have been putting out there. And Loki's also promised a certain reward, which I put out there in our StreamLaunch.io stream. Will Loki get another chance as young Loki and join the young Avengers? Will Loki become Immortus? Will Owen Wilson become Immortus? If they're the same, it could also works. Because again, Immortus is a character who was in the comics played by Nathaniel Richards, which is the father of Reed Richards, of course, the Fantastic Four, which of course would be a fun way also to put somehow brought Immortus into this to work into Fantastic Four. We also know that Kang the Conqueror is a version of Nathaniel Richards, which we also know is coming in Ant-Man 3. So there's all kinds of different things, and that basically the idea that just because you have all these different characters, they can be different forms and different bodies. which I think would be an interesting. What if Loki becomes Kang the Conqueror in this timeline? That's the
right.
thing.
Again, when I saw the one scene I loved is that when he sees all the Infinity Stones and that they're neutralized, he realizes this is a bigger power than the Infinity Stones, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
But like Loki, the god of mischief, through time, through the multiverse, of course he would end up there multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? So I just think that's going to play into it. Again, look, if there's anything we've learned, unless they're going to break away from this, I said this on the live stream, WandaVision was about Wanda and Vision. We got a lot of Wanda and Vision.
Yeah.
Falcon the Winter Soldier was a lot about Falcon the Winter Soldier. We got almost entirely the Falcon the Winter Soldier. Loki is probably going to be about Loki.
Yeah.
Right? Just following that logic. The other thing, too, I was actually having a great conversation with my brother this week. And he says, look, Marvel loves throwing in little Easter eggs without explanations because they can choose to use them or not. Right? The one now that's circulating the internet is that Peggy Carter showed up and that she was popping someone in there. And the thing is, like, look, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. If they feel like using it, they can use it. They don't have to, though. And, we've seen those throughout every show.
Yeah.
And every movie. But, look, a phenomenal first episode. Great job explaining the timekeepers and the sacred timeline and how that's going to play out. And Tom Hiddleston, it's you can forget how great of an actor he is.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, because you got to remember he's almost always the supporting cast.
Right.
And like even in Ragnarok he was great, but he was kind of comic relief for the most part.
Yeah.
He hasn't really had a main role since Avengers, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but he just was a phenomenal performance. It was a phenomenal performance by him in this episode, and like again, I mean, easily the most satisfied I felt watching a Marvel show of any episode yet of any of the shows.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it's definitely a thing where you also you wonder too. They mentioned key line in the show is that like Loki is meant to make everyone else better in a way. Like him losing raises everyone else up constantly. And he kind of, again, and Owen Wilson blatantly points out to Loki that it's his fault the Avengers came together. His fault, right. Which, of course, we kind of learn here that it was always destined to happen anyway. Yeah. So.
Owen Wilson's character really, really knows Loki, like, well. Yeah. This is clearly not the first time he's dealt with him, whether he is him or not. That's what's cool about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. It also takes place either in another plane of existence or far, 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 far in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's definitely another plane of existence for sure. The TVA is on another whole other realm.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? Now that you mentioned that you think that Loki could be Owen Wilson, I'm going back through my mind. What if Loki is a bunch of different characters? What if Loki is actually Old Man Cap giving Sam the shield there at the end? What if Loki's in other parts of the time? Like you could have this Loki who's helping the TVA. Literally throughout Marvel, you could put him throughout Marvel cinema now,
right?
And you don't know.
Here's the other thing too about Cap is, and that's something that this show may or may not explain, but it has been confirmed, I believe, that when Captain America goes back in time at the end of Endgame, he is on another timeline.
Yes.
When he stays with Peggy.
Yeah.
Right, and that means that either he flipped back to the main timeline to give Sam the shield and then went away, because remember the way they keep talking about him is he's just not here anymore. Right. Like Captain America's just not here. They don't say he's dead or anything like that.
Right.
So it would be interesting if they decide to dive into that a little bit or explain that. It may happen in this show. It may not. They've already tied up one of the loose ends in explaining the multiverse and the timeline, and that the Avengers were supposed to go back in time, which is a paradox within itself in the show. Right. Because if they go back in time, then Loki has to get the time stone no matter what. Right. Right. But the idea is that like they're starting to gnaw away at some of those Endgame open wounds that I shouldn't even call them wounds that nobody really cared about because the movie was so great. Yeah. But they're closing gaps, which is really cool. And like, look, if that was Peggy Carter, which again they may or may not do, that would answer a lot of questions too. That could make this really fun. Yeah. Right? But long story short, IGN gave that episode I think a 6 or a 7. I'm giving it way higher than that.
Well, we've all established that IGN doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I'm giving that one a 9. That was really fun.
Yeah, no, it established everything in the best ways possible. And again, because you mentioned that, because we know Cap goes to a different timeline, maybe that takes place after all of the events of this, where, like you said, the timeline gets exploded. Because otherwise, Cap wouldn't have been able to stay in that timeline. He would have been a variant. He would have been forced to go back. Or you can't have all these multiple timelines right now with the sacred timeline. There's
a lot of things that are going to open up, and it's exciting. And like I said, I give that 9 out of 10. It had perfect drama, perfect humor.
Yes.
Everything was written well. I'm going to say it again, and again, Ray, you can feel free to disagree with me. The scene where Loki watches himself die at the hands of Thanos, without saying anything, it's only about a 20-second scene. It's some of the best acting I've seen in Marvel.
Yeah.
Right? It's very hard to act without speaking in the way he did. You feel like the guy's really watching himself die.
Yeah, Hiddleston's face is extremely
just
expressive.
so well done. I mean, I noticed that right away, and I just bravo to him. And then that scene goes right to him messing with one of the time cop people.
Yes,
and it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's very much you got to see you still got to see the sinister side of Loki as he like a cat playing with a mouse. When one of the cops came after him.
God, I wish I had one of those things to use on you. That would be so much fun for me.
Yeah, that I would if I would probably
zip. See, maybe I can do it without the machine.
So yeah, what were we saying? Oh yeah, so
we were talking about Loki.
Yeah, look. They mentioned they do a fun little thing in the 70s showing how Loki has kind of been messing around with people for forever, where he was D.B. Cooper. For those of you who don't know, that was the only man to successfully hijack and get away with the ransom of a commercial flight. Supposedly, 45 years unsolved mystery. Don't know, but at this point he's probably dead. But he got away with hundreds of thousands of dollars from the FBI, the ransom as he hijacked the plane. That was Loki. And again, that also goes to show Loki could be throughout history, and we don't know yet. I
think that's exactly what they're saying.
Yes. And the other thing we also want to mention, Ravonna Renslayer, who is the judge. She's only called the judge in the show, but if you look at the credits, she is credited as Ravonna Renslayer. That is a key figure because that is Kang the Conqueror's lover in the comics. So that makes me think again, does Mobius, who has a fun relationship with her, or Loki, or one of these other characters, do they have a larger purpose for the next phase that we'll probably find out by the end of the season? So very much excited to see what happens with Loki episode 2. And by the time this is released, that's already tomorrow. So if you haven't caught up yet, you should be. Go catch up, watch episode 1, it's 50 minutes, and then watch episode 2 with us at streamlounge.io, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, as we do that every week there over at Streamlounge. That would be fun. Staying in the Marvel Universe, though, lots of rumors and lots of confirmations. First off, Namor has been confirmed as one of the heroes/villains of Black Panther 2. Sounds like it's going to be one of those classic, he'll probably be an antagonist at first, but probably come to join and help Black Panther at some point, whoever it may be, whether it's Shuri or whatever, by the end of the film. And that there's rumors that also Namor's cousin and his nemesis, Namor and Atuma, will also make appearances in Black Panther 2. So this is another way, possibly another film to help expand the greater Marvel universe. Namor actually one of the first heroes in the Marvel universe canonically.
Do you mean Aquaman?
No, Namor.
Aquaman.
Namor. He's the good Aquaman.
The Aquaman.
Namor.
The same guy, Ray.
Pretty much.
Let's just be honest
Pretty
about
much,
it.
but
Marvel's
Namor's
going to
done
come out. Yeah. That's true. You know what's funny is this goes all the way back to a line in Endgame. And Marvel, once again, taking one-liners and turning them into something massive. But, Ray, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like in Infinity War, I'm sorry. No, it was Endgame. In Endgame when Black Widow is giving a briefing, and Rocket is there, War Machine's there, and what is her name is there from Black Panther. And she says there was an earthquake under the ocean. And Black Widow says, how are we going to handle that? And she goes, it's an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling it. Right? I believe that was a hint towards Namor. I believe that's why they brought it up. And now that it's in Black Panther 2, for me, that all but confirms that's where that line was going. Yeah. Right? Forgive me for not remembering her name. I can't, Black Panther's like right-hand woman. But they said that there was an earthquake in the ocean. That's clearly a hint towards Namor, and I think the fact that again she said it, right? That was a hint.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Avengers.
The Dora Milaje. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, and know of that character, and very much in typical Namor fashion, trying to stay his way away as much as possible from the affairs of man.
He's Aquaman. He's Aquaman. is, I mean, look, for those who don't know, Namor and Aquaman are the same exact character.
There's a lot of parallel characters between Marvel and
If there was a multiverse,
right.
If they ever met, they'd be like the Spider-Man, like,
yeah, exactly.
You're me, I'm you.
Oh, goodness.
Namor has slick hair. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
He has slicker hair.
Yeah.
Than Aquaman, and a better costume.
A
much better costume.
Yes, yeah.
So, I'll never understand. Look, this is the common argument, and it is true. I do not understand how Aquaman and Namor have never been more at the forefront. They are easily two of the most powerful Earth heroes ever.
Yeah.
And they never, ever get the I mean, like, they're more powerful. Think about it. They're more powerful than almost every Earth hero ever created. I can't think of an Earth hero more powerful than Namor or Aquaman if you really think about it.
Right.
They control 80% of the planet.
Yeah, people born on the planet. Yeah, because obviously.
Yeah, right? I can't think of any character that has more power than those guys. Maybe Dark Phoenix.
I mean, but even then, the Phoenix is an entity from space.
Alien.
Right. Jean Grey.
I'll put that out to our listeners. Find me a superhero more powerful than Namor or Aquaman in the respective universe. Earthborn,
right.
You will not find one.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're right. That's actually a good call.
And I've always found that amazing. That
maybe Hulk. Maybe.
That's fair. That's a fair one, right?
In terms of pure power, right? Like.
Well, look. I think the trade-off there is Hulk could never defeat Namor at sea. Right.
True.
He could on land.
Right.
But so maybe that's a draw. But like the idea is that it's amazing to me that those characters have never given more of a powerful stance. Yeah. I mean, they make fun of this in The Boys, right? The show The Boys, because there's a character called the Deep, and like he controls basically the animals of the ocean, and he's just a screw up, and that's the whole point. It's just a massive screw up, and they're making fun of Aquaman and.
Because there's only so many adventures you can have at sea, so.
I mean, it's what is the deal? Didn't they say that like the ocean is less discovered than I think just the space surrounding the Earth?
Yeah.
Like there's more, it's
We've
like
only
incredible.
discovered like 10% of what's in the ocean,
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about it.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, like we don't have a technology to go down into like the deep Earth trenches and everything. Like
we can go to the moon and Mars, but we can't get beyond the Marianas Trench.
Pressure. The unbelievable pressure.
Oh, I'm sorry, James Cameron can.
James Cameron's explored more of the ocean than anybody else in human history.
Anybody. Yeah. In fact, I always found it funny that he stopped just a few feet short of the longest dive ever. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He could have gone farther than the longest, but he stopped short out of respect.
Yeah.
Doesn't respect his wife as much as he respected that record. Oh, she won an Oscar for Best Picture too.
Oh, goodness.
She did. She won Best Picture at one point too. So.
Yeah. Continuing with the Marvel rumors and confirmations.
Get us out of this.
Yeah. Titania has been confirmed as the main villain, or one of the main villains for She-Hulk, the She-Hulk TV show. For those of you who know, Titania, also could be an interesting thing, experimented on by Doctor Doom, and has had kind of an anti-hero role over the years in comics, depending on the problem or the issue. Like usually, if it's some kind of a galactic invasion, she'll team with the heroes because she's still a human. But she's messed with Hulk and She-Hulk many times over the years. And yeah, she's been announced as the She-Hulk villain. I have to imagine that whatever causes Jennifer Walters to become She-Hulk makes Titania extremely jealous. And then however she gets those powers, again, this could be a way to introduce other people, like a Doctor Doom or whatever, into the show if they so choose.
Right.
But this is a great, I think this is a great thing that you have first off, She-Hulk I think is going to be a lot of fun. And you have, of course, one of her main villains is going to be the primary villain, so...
Yeah, we know Ruffalo's already been filming for that show as well, which is great that they're going to have a Hulk tie-in. I was worried they wouldn't do that for some reason. But
yeah.
Look, here's the deal. Going back to what we talked about earlier, I have a hard time now making any predictions about any show past Loki. Because if he opens up the multiverse, I mean, the tool that gives Marvel everyone is they can just drop anyone into anything. Like, from that universe, here he is. Enjoy it. Oh, the X-Men? Hey, they're over here. And the Fox, actually, don't look at that one. We'll pick another Fox universe over here. Right? Like they can do anything they want.
We've got Wolverine in the blue and yellow costume. Here.
Right. We talked about this about a year ago when DC announced their multiverse that we know Marvel's building it. And it's like, will this be the typical DC's rushing it? Now, we know Flashpoint's going to be a multiverse event.
Yes.
Obviously. Listen, I'm going to say this right now. I know we still have one more thing to talk about. Marvel's probably going to do a really, 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 really good job with this.
Yeah.
DC, the executives at DC that listen to our show religiously. I know you're listening. This is all I need you to do. Just make Batman Beyond and stop putting your characters in the same films with each other. Just a hint. Just leave Batman alone. Make me Batman Beyond. You can have the Batman still. Don't care. You can do all the Joker movies you want.
Yep.
But just give us Batman Beyond. It works whether you were a fan of the show or not.
Yeah.
Go figure. And you can make Terry whatever race you want. Just make it. Please. Please. I'm asking. Humbly signed, a Marvel fan.
I do think at some point we will get Batman Beyond. The demand is too
obvious.
high, and I think Keaton is.
But it's a great story.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, if you have Michael Keaton as Batman, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you can do it so easily at that point.
Yeah.
Right. As long as they follow, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Flashpoint. Right.
I mean, again, everything seems to be hinging with DC on Flashpoint. So
it's Black Adam, and I'm going to say that again. Black Adam is the future of that entire market.
Well, for sure, there's gonna be a lot hinging on Black Adam as well. But I think that they're also they first stills have been released of Shazam 2. They tweaked Zachary Levi's costume a bit, made it look a bit more modern superhero. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there and how everything continues.
He got ripped too. He's got a lot bigger than he was in the first. The first movie, that it kind of worked that he wasn't, but you can tell he's fitting that suit a bit better.
Yeah, you can tell there's a little bit of padding there in that suit, and now it's a little bit less padding.
Right.
So, but yeah, the other big Marvel continuing with Marvel. There's another rumor. Speaking of the multiverse and things that can be dropped in randomly. Last thing is there now is rumor of Ned, of course, Spider-Man's best friend. Becoming the Hobgoblin, which would be comic accurate. That did happen in the comics. He gets brainwashed and becomes the Hobgoblin, and it's something that fans have mentioned several times ever since Ned's been hanging around. Do they go that route, though? Again, we have no idea. There's going to be so much stuff happening in Spider-Man, supposedly. You could have Ned as a Hobgoblin. We already think we're going to get Doc Ock, we're going to get the Lizard, we're going to get Electro, we're going to get all these guys coming back, we're going to get Toby, we're going to get Venom, we're going to get all this stuff supposedly.
You're going to get into the Spider-Verse characters too,
right.
I'm told.
So, I mean, you're getting this massive...
Miles Morales is going to be in that.
Right, so the idea that they don't do Ned as a Hobgoblin, at this point, everything's on the table.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost a tremendous amount of weight for the next movie, so they could have a lot of fun with him. Look, let's just talk about Spider-Man for a minute, Ray. Look, I think this is going to go one of two ways, right?
Yep.
I think it's either there's going to be like a scene or a couple scenes where we see into other Spider-Verses very quickly. Mm-hmm. Like maybe we see Alfred Molina for 10 seconds. Or they're going to lean heavily on some of these characters a little more. Now, I can't imagine Jamie Foxx would have signed up for a quick cameo.
For like a 3-minute
I can't imagine, Alfred Molina. I think that, I'll be honest with you. I'd have no problem with them being major villains in this film as their old characters. That would actually be very transcendent. It would be really bold.
Well, how about that way to do a Sinister Six? Technically, if you go back all time, you have the Sinister Six villains throughout the Spider-Verse.
Just Rhino is the only one that really hasn't been given his fair share, although you did have someone play Rhino. So Paul Giamatti played a horrendous Rhino. So
it's not his fault.
So,
it's not his fault.
But yeah, we'll see, man. It's like again, I trust where they're going with this. I trust Marvel, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind that if the main villains were the former villains. That would actually be pretty cool. It's never really been done before.
Yeah, I mean,
a crossover event,
and that's going to be the thing is that again, we're only 6 months away from 5 months away.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped for that, and I appreciate that's a fun rumor. But again, it's something that's been talked about for a while that Ned could become the Hobgoblin. Like Lee said, he's lost a lot of weight. Maybe for some more screen time. So, and speaking of, so we went from a fictional Ned. This is not in the rundown, but I didn't want to mention a real Ned, a real life Ned. This happened literally about 2 hours before we started recording. Ned Beatty, probably best known to many of us as Otis from Superman, but has also been in Network and many other films as a great character actor. Passed away at the age of 83 today. Again, absolutely phenomenal. Sad to hear. I am demanding the state of California rename a city Otisburg in his honor. There is actually
we need to get T-shirts.
There is actually an unaffiliated tent city somewhere in the desert called Otisburg, named specifically because of that. But I want like a real city with a real zip code to be named Otisburg. But yeah, that was a sad thing.
It's a little place. It's a little place.
It's a little place.
Just a little itty bitty place.
She got her own city.
Tasmaka.
Yes, like, yeah, no,
Still the best Superman movie ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. So that's very sad to hear. Our condolences to obviously his friends and family, and of course to the geek community who mourns his loss. So yeah, so a sad note to end the geek section on today, but a full geek section for sure. As we now transition over to really the two big sports stories that are going on right now. It's really just basketball and hockey.
Yeah.
Yes, baseball.
You're not going to talk baseball today, are you, Ray?
Do you want me to do a Yankee rant? I'll do a Yankee rant.
I think the people demand a Yankee rant. But before you do, I'm not gloating. I swear to you, Ray and I talked about this last week. So the Phillies and the Yankees, who just played each other this weekend twice, have been pretty neck and neck in terms of the standings this year, right, Ray?
I think, yeah. Even after this series, we have
33 wins apiece. Yeah,
we're basically the same record.
So I would say the Phillies and the Yankees are both. I don't want to say. I mean, what's the right? Underperforming would be the right word, but different divisions. In the Phillies division, obviously the Phillies are 3 games back of first place. In the Yankees division, they're in a rough spot. They're in a rough spot. And Ray, I'm starting to believe what you said, that this team's in trouble. This team is in trouble. They are not looking like. I mean, they're not a playoff team right now.
No.
Unless they make some significant changes, they do have time to make some changes right now to be the Yankees. But again, not gloating. The Phillies won a heartbreaker yesterday after having a massive lead, winning on a walk-off.
Yeah.
In the 10th inning to win 8-7, and then today was 7-1. The Phillies demolished the Yankees today.
Actually.
7-0.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit, but I think the people would like a Yankees, right? And again, Ray, look, you and I are friends. I've never gloated at the Phillies beating the Yankees. I will tell you this, that and you'll understand this as a Yankee fan. There is something special about beating the Yankees as a Phillies fan. This has nothing to do with our friendship, but anytime you beat the Yankees. It's a big deal. I'd say more so in other years, to be fair. But like the Phillies really did step up in these games, and games we desperately needed to catch up to the Mets, who we actually have the same amount of wins as the Mets. It just they have more games at hand than we do.
Right.
But yeah, the New York Yankees, I thought they were coming back there, but they have fallen off the face of the earth. It seems like management has no idea what to do.
Yeah.
Ray will talk about that in a minute with perspective moves that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Very Yankee in nature, and they just can't seem to find their footing.
Yeah, no, like Lee said, the Mets and Phillies have the same amount of wins at 32, but the Mets, because of all those COVID games that were canceled at the beginning of the season, have 6 in hand. A lot of doubleheaders planned. The Yankees do have 33
and a major
wins.
Injury. We should talk about that with the Mets, and a major. Didn't DeGrom just get injured?
DeGrom got hurt again. He will not miss his next start.
Right.
He will not miss his next start.
Well,
but DeGrom has.
Keep an eye on that.
Look, DeGrom has been hurt twice already this year for the Mets. DeGrom is on pace to set all kinds of records with ERA. His ERA is under 1. He pitched masterfully again the other night against the Padres, 6 shutout innings, I believe it was. But then he got pulled with some elbow tightness. The Mets do say, though, he will make his next start. All X-rays came back negative, which is good for baseball, bad for the Phillies. But it's one of those things where, that's going to be a thing to keep an eye on, because if the Mets, much like the Yankees as well, the Yankees had a lot of injury woes we'll get into as well, but the Mets in particular, because they have all those games in hand, could win this division or could, as usual, choke in August. But the Yankees are 8.5 back of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay just continues to be on an absolute tear. The Yankees, meanwhile, they're a game over 500 in a different division. The Yankees might be competing. I mean, the NL East they'd be competing, but like right now in the AL East, they are 8.5 back. They are solidly in 4th place. 4 teams all above 500. Yankees, Red Sox, Toronto, and Tampa Bay. But again, that only shows that you need to find the ways to win. And this is a team that doesn't know how to win anymore. This is a team that finds new ways to lose. Like Lee mentioned yesterday, they came back in the 9th inning against Neris, the Phillies closer, came back to lose it in the 10th anyway. Aroldis Chapman, the Yankees were going for the sweep against the Twins, which, by the way, the Yankees in sweeping games potentially are 2-6 this year. You cannot be .250 winning percentage in games where you can possibly finish off a sweep. And honestly, a lot of those, and then you get swept by teams you get swept by the Red Sox at home for the first time in a decade. You get swept by the Detroit Tigers, one of the worst teams in baseball in Detroit, where again, your bullpen blew several games. Chapman's ERA, which everyone's like, oh, he rolled his Chapman .4 ERA. Well, now it's over 2 because he's blown 3 games in a row. And that's what happens when you're a reliever who pitches only 1 inning a game. The Yankees they're not even fun to watch. Like, the way they lose is in the most sickening, heart-wrenching ways.
Well, they don't look like the Yankees. It's the first time I've ever even said that. They don't look like the Yankees. They look like just a normal baseball team. It's funny to say that, but it's true.
Even a normal baseball team would win some of these games. This looks like a team that doesn't know how to handle the pressure. This looks like a team that is absolutely clueless, starting with its manager, starting with its general manager all the way down. This is a fun stat that I mentioned to Lee. The Yankees had the most left-handed lineup in baseball 4 years ago. Why? Because they play at a place called Yankee Stadium.
Stadium.
Yeah, the house that Ruth built that was purposely meant to cater to lefty hitters. The Yankees now, because of Cashman's brilliant moves, trading for guys like Giancarlo Stanton, now have the most right-handed heavy lineup in baseball, which is ridiculous. That's why they're not hitting any home runs. In fact, on any given night, the Yankees don't even have a single lefty in the lineup, depending on what the lineup is, and depending on injuries. They also traded away most of their outfield depth. I will say this, Wandy Peralta has done a good job in the bullpen. But Mike Tauchman is absolutely on a tear and is a big reason why the San Francisco Giants are in first place in the National League West. In fact, robbing home runs of guys like Albert Pujols the other night. Because the guy's an absolute stud, especially in the field. Oh, and by the way, the Yankees starting outfielders in Stanton, Judge, and Hicks are constantly hurt. Constantly. So let's trade away outfielders. Because why would we need backups for those positions when we never have anybody that can start there? Britt Gardner has played the game a year too long, maybe 2 years too long. And honestly, he is done. He's somebody who should have retired last year. The Yankees shouldn't have re-signed him even for $4 million. The Yankees now literally don't have anybody to put in the outfield. They tried to convert Miguel Andujar, who's an infielder by trade, to an outfielder. Tyler Wade, the same thing. They're doing admirably, but these are infielders playing the outfield because we literally don't have anybody else left to play the positions. Thank goodness Aaron Judge is having an all-star year because he's literally him and Gio Urshela are the lone bright spots in this lineup any given night. Hicks is out for the year. Stanton's made of freaking glass. He slides wrong and he pulls a hamstring. I mean, this is ridiculous. This team has no clutch, and I get it. Other guys aren't performing either. Luke Voit got hurt again. Luis Severino had another setback in his rehab injuries. We got DJ LeMahieu hitting 100 points less than last year. Again, he hit .360 last year to win the batting title. I wasn't expecting him to hit .360 again, but I wasn't expecting the defending batting champion to go from .360 to .260. Might be that there's no protection in the lineup, though. That doesn't help either. I mean, this team they are putting out a bunch of trash every night, and I am not excusing the fact that a bunch of Yankee fans have been throwing crap on the field lately, but I also completely understand the frustration that these guys are not performing the way they should, and it starts at the very top. And now the biggest trade rumors, aside from Ketel Marte out in the outfield for Arizona to try and get him, they're talking about Trump before he got hurt. He also got hurt. Trying to talk about getting Max Scherzer, a rental at 36 years old. Pitching's not our problem. We can't hit worth a lick. The Yankees have the third worst offense in baseball. Even after putting up 7 runs yesterday against the Phillies, we got shut out today. I know that Aaron Nola's great. I usually trade for him in my franchise. But come on, folks. You gotta be kidding me. This team is absolute horse manure. They are sickening to watch. Aaron Boone looks like a buffoon in the dugout. A guy who literally had one great swing of his career and has ridden it for the last 18 years. I'm sick of it. Start firing people. Heads need to roll. And the worst part is the only thing rolling is probably George Steinbrenner in his goddamn grave watching this team perform every night. It makes me sick. We got the Worst freaking Steinbrenner brother freaking in charge after poor Hank passed away. Hal, the pencil pusher piece of crap. That's what Hal Steinbrenner is. I want them all gone. You can't get rid of the owner. But he's got a sister. Somebody step in and take over. Somebody who knows what they're doing. Come on. I got spit all over my microphone.
I'm going to say that was one of your best rants of all time. That was one of your best rants ever. Now, Ray really loves the Yankees. I'm going to say this, too. Ray is an insanely knowledgeable Yankee fan and baseball fan. He really knows what he's talking about. And I don't say that lightly, Ray. I don't typically compliment fans, all right? But you are a true fan, and you really know the game. And you mean it. An epic rant. Part of me wants to say now you know what it feels like to be the rest of us, but you're my friend, and I don't want to say that. I will say, don't you feel better now that you got that out? Aren't you glad that I poked you to do that? If you must feel somewhat better now. You got it out.
We still suck!
Yes, that is the 99% in baseball, except for the Dodgers.
Yeah, even they're chasing the Giants. Who saw the Giants coming? Anyway.
No, well, that's how it works. Nothing on paper matters. Ray, excellent rant, sir. Well done.
Thank you.
Transitioning to hockey, I totally called the Islanders were going to come out of our division. They did. And they are 1-up in the series against Tampa. That doesn't mean anything. I practice what I preach. Everybody, they're up 1 game. They're going to the Cup. Yeah, it's not smart.
Yeah.
Anyway, Islanders, Tampa Bay Lightning. On one side, the Canadians against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. A really interesting series. The oldest NHL team versus the youngest NHL team, at least for one more year.
Yeah.
And an epic duel to see who will go to the Stanley Cup final. They're calling this round the semifinal this year.
Right.
Not the conference final, which I guess it is kind of a semifinal. We had a quarterfinal and then a semifinal and then a semifinal and then we'll have the final.
Right.
But I guess you had the divisional quarterfinal, divisional semifinal.
Then you had the divisional final. Now you have the Stanley Cup semifinal.
Yeah, whatever. I was right. I called the Islanders coming out of our division. You know, here's the thing. I'm going to back up why I picked them because people were asking me, you got lucky. I'm not lucky.
No.
I picked the Islanders for a few reasons. One, everyone forgets they were in the conference final last year against Tampa. Okay? They are a good team. They are relentless, and they got super powered up. You don't let them go back too many episodes when they made trades for Palmieri, and I said this team just became Cup caliber.
Yeah,
I said it
Zajac,
weeks ago. I said it weeks ago that is a team you do not want to sleep on. And guess what? Teams have been sleeping on them. Pittsburgh slept on them. Yeah. All right, the Boston Bruins looked really great. Fell asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, I think
Islanders.
Boston looked exhausted by the end of that series.
Yes, listen, the Islanders will not stop.
Yeah.
The only way you can beat them is you have to physically and scoring-wise beat them. And here's the deal. The difference between last year's Islanders team and this year's Islanders team is they can actually score.
Yeah.
They can actually score. So I'm not saying they're going to beat Tampa at this point. At this point of the playoffs, you really anyone can win. I mean, if you get to this point, you deserve to be there. But I'm telling you, I picked them for a reason. And then the Boston Bruins coach, I got to bring this up. I did a rant about this on my other channel. Bruce Cassidy, stupidly, just really dumb. I'm saying this from my job now. Comes out after a game and essentially says, "Hey, we talk about the penalties and the refs and they're not the Saints." And I went, "Oh my God, you just gave them an identity. You just gave all of New York an identity by calling them the New York Saints."
Yeah.
What happened? I made a video that night. I said, "This guy made a mistake." Long Island, Game 6. The whole crowd, New York Saints, New York Saints. He empowered the other team. I think it's a massive coaching mistake. He's a good coach. I don't want to jump off this, tactically and everything. He's a very good coach. But you never give your enemy a tool of identity, ever. It can make you Herculean in the way you play a game. All right, it is always harder to play a team with an identity. That's how Vegas went so far that first year.
Yep.
Right now they're just a good team.
Yep.
All right. Tampa's identity is, okay, we got to repeat.
Right.
Okay? The underdog typically wins that battle unless the other team is that much better. It's going to be a good series. Popping over to the other side, Canadiens versus Vegas Golden Knights. On paper, you got to say, oh, yeah, the Knights are going to go to the Cup final, but the Canadiens have shocked everybody so far, and Carey Price is playing out of his mind.
Well, that's the thing.
All right? All right, yeah. So my prediction is this: I do think this is where the Canadians' run ends.
Yeah.
I think that you have Marc-Andre Fleury in the other net, who's equally as good, and I also think that there's just the scoring power of Vegas after just beating Colorado is going to be too much for Price to overcome. He's literally going to have to win that series on his own for them to get to the Cup final. But I can't pick them just on that alone. If I'm looking at the other series, I'm going to pick the Islanders just because I picked them earlier.
Right. And
I think you might be looking at an Islanders-Vegas Golden Knights final. Now, with that said, any of these teams go to the final, it's going to be a fun final.
That's true.
All right. NHL has been really fun. These playoffs have been really exciting. You've had the odd blowout here and there, but almost every game is a great game.
Yeah.
All right, and it's been exciting to watch. So, part of me wants anybody but Tampa in the finals because Tampa just won. I'm not against Tampa. I really don't have a problem with it. I actually like Tampa. They have really great fans down there.
Right.
They really do. They have a really strong fan base. But I just like to see teams that either haven't won in a long time. Montreal's last win was in 1993. Islanders' last win was 1983.
Yeah.
Vegas has never won before.
Right.
So those are cool stories, and it would be a little bit of a surprise ending, if you will. I think the only team in the playoffs right now, I'd say Tampa and Vegas are the only two teams people may have picked to be there at the end of the year right now.
Right.
Right. No one picked the Islanders and no one picked Montreal.
Definitely no one
picked
picked
Montreal. Squeezed in the playoffs like the last day.
Yeah.
It was just last few days, last week. So great hockey all around, and looking forward to that. Oh, Ray, may I also announce the charity that we're working with real quick?
Oh, sure, for sure.
I just wanted to say this real quick. It's cross-channel here, but through the company Blade Shades that we run, we just created a pair of glasses. We're working with a company called, a foundation called Skate for the 22. If you're watching it, you can see them on the screen right now. Long story short, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. This organization's goal is to curtail that number, and what they do, Ray, is they buy veterans hockey equipment, ice time, and they get them on the ice. They give them something to be part of, a team to be part of, and it's a really great organization. And so if you go to bladeshades.com, we're selling these glasses. For every single pair we sell, we are giving $10 to the donation. It's a substantial amount. We didn't want to do 50 cents or a buck like you hear sometimes. Giving $10 from every pair sold to the organization. And on top of that, 25% off if you buy those glasses, any other pair of Blade Shades on the site. So we're trying to make a significant contribution to Skate for the 22. It's skateforthe22.org if you want more information on them, and bladeshades.com if you want to take a look at the glasses. And yes, we're offering them in blue blocker sunglasses and both of those. Sometimes I almost say Blu-ray half the time. I'm like, those aren't glasses. But yeah, check that out if you have time. Again, supporters of the show, appreciate it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a great organization a great foundation to support. So that's a great thing for sure. But yeah, just kind of piggybacking off your analysis, Lee, I mean, I think, Price is the X factor. He'd have to steal this series, but obviously Vegas is the team to beat. I don't see this being a long series either. As the Golden Knights.
It's Fleury, though, too, Ray. Like, Fleury can steal that series, too. Like, that's what the Canadians, in my opinion, haven't faced yet, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like they haven't faced a team with a goalie.
Elite goalie like a Marc-Andre Fleury who's been there before. So I think the Montreal Cinderellas, the clock's about to strike midnight. But yeah, the Golden Knights, especially after that comeback winning 4 in a row against Colorado, tough to beat. And like you said, the Islanders won 2-1. Yeah, the Islanders won 2-1 today. The Lightning got a late goal with a minute to go, made it very interesting, very exciting last minute, but that the Islander team, again, for me the big question was going to be how Varlamov, the goalie, was going to be for the Islanders, and he has been fantastic. He's got a couple of softies here or there, but overall he has been what the Islanders have needed to keep him in a lot of games and allowed that offense to click late. And again, the Islanders only needed was 2 goals today. That's what they got, and that's good enough for a 1-0 lead. I think this is going to be a long series.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. I think both of them should be.
Yeah. So I'll say Vegas Montreal will be a quick one, but I think Islanders Lightning will be a long one. But we will see there. So yeah, it should be interesting to see. It's a lot of fun hockey. It's the best of the best now. One game a night now until these 2 series are over, and then it's the Stanley Cup final.
Right.
So
look, and just if you haven't started, now's the time to watch. They're good games.
Yeah, it's the best of the best. So moving on now to the NBA. They're like a round behind the NHL, of course, so they're in their semifinals for each conference. The Suns are on the verge. As we're speaking, the Suns are playing right now. They are up 13 with the 4th quarter left to play. the Suns on the verge of sweeping the Nuggets. Did not see that coming. I thought the Suns would win this series. I think I said it last week. I did not expect a sweep. But they are on the verge of that. Chris Paul is hungry. He wants his ring. Devin Booker is absolutely insane right now. And they are about
I will say this. Yeah. I will say this. If you were the first team to knock LeBron James out of the playoffs before the finals, which I think hasn't happened in a decade.
In a while, yeah.
All right, I'd feel pretty destined. Right, like you didn't just knock off the Los Angeles Lakers. You knocked off a LeBron-led Los Angeles Lakers, right? And it's like they're destined, and they know it. The Suns are going to go to the finals. I just have no doubt about it.
I think they're going to take on a good Jazz or Clippers team. That series is 2-1 in favor of the Jazz right now. But whoever comes out of that series at this point, the way they are playing. Everybody's contributing. Everybody's making big shots and big plays. And if the only thing I could see derailing them a bit, and even then I don't think so, I think the rest will do well because of, especially with the veteran players, I do not see anybody beating the Suns in the West. Meanwhile, in the East, because of injuries, Harden and Kyrie Irving now today rolled his ankle and missed almost all of Game 4. The Bucks have tied the series 2-2, taking advantage of the injuries. This is what
everyone predicted, too. They said if that team can stay healthy, they can go. But if they get hurt...
Yeah. And now they're taking advantage of those injuries, and the Bucks have tied the series at 2. The series now transitions back to Brooklyn. A pivotal Game 5 coming up on Tuesday, I believe. Yes, it is Tuesday. They... Honestly, like you said, the Bucks do not have the weapons the Nets have. But if the Nets aren't healthy, they do not have the depth to overcome a team like the Bucks. Right now, I think at this point, now that it's a best-of-3 series, unless Harden and Irving can come back for Game 5 or at least Game 6, I think this is the Bucks series to lose. And meanwhile, in the other series, Lee's prediction is coming true. After the Hawks win a nail-biter, almost blowing a huge lead against the 76ers. The
30-point lead.
Yes. The 76ers have dominated Games 2 and 3. They play Game 4 tomorrow night. The Sixers are up 2-1 in that series. It's the first time the Hawks have lost at home, I think, in like 11 games, Game 3. So the Sixers clearly don't care about any of that stuff. They are ready to roll. They are the team to beat in the East, folks. We said it all along. What do you think about what is the sound of a Sixers versus Suns final sound in the NBA? Because that's what I think we're headed.
Well, I mean, the Sixers versus anyone in the final sounds great to me, buddy. I don't care what team they're playing, obviously. Actually, the Sixers not playing the Lakers sounds good to me too. But you got to take anybody seriously when they get there.
Right.
Look, Atlanta. Again, you know me. I work on kind of the mental side of the game. I don't want to say they made a mistake, but like one of the pitfalls they fell into is you have a 30-point lead. You wake a team up, then they almost win. You gave them belief.
Yeah.
And you gave them I get somewhat of an identity of like, oh wait, wow, we almost lost. We almost lost.
Yeah.
It's that, but it's also the fear of like, man, we didn't play well enough to beat these guys, and now we know how to do it. Now, if Atlanta held on to that 30-point lead, which we even made a 15-point lead, it would have been a little bit different story. It's like, oh wow, this team maybe they're good. You plant the seed of doubt. But all they did by letting the Sixers come out is plant, man, we're going to kick your ass, and that's exactly what they're doing. And again, look, I predicted they would win 4 straight, and I they're going to win the series. I really believe that, barring an epic meltdown. But it just comes down to this: the Sixers are the better basketball team. It's that simple. Yeah. All right, they're the better basketball team. Atlanta gave it everything they had in Game 1, and it was barely enough. And the Sixers did not give everything they had. So, look, you never know till you know. Anybody can win, but the best part about 7-game series is the better team tends to win. And I don't mean on paper. I mean the team that wins is typically the better team. Right? So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I'm still predicting them to win 2 more in a row. They play tomorrow night, I believe.
Yes, Monday and Wednesday, Games 4 and Games 5. There, 76 Sixers versus Atlanta Hawks. So that should be interesting. But, yeah, so there's our predictions. There's what's going on down in the NHL and NBA. Look, we even fit in a little bit of baseball. So, good sports section there. Now move on to our mashup.
Oh, no. In the NFL news, Tom Brady is still playing, and he's old.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a given. So
Yeah,
no,
I'm looking forward to the NFL season, believe it or not.
yes, no. So am I. Off
I miss
season,
football.
They're working out, right? Like we're 6 weeks away from the preseason, the Hall of Fame game.
I always tell people, Ray. I always tell people, like, hockey. I know, right? Baseball, I kind of tolerate. Basketball, I enjoy, but I'm a fan of football. Like, I coach football too, but I really just love football. Like, again, whenever I watch hockey, I'm sure it's kind of like baseball for you a little bit, but it's like when I watch hockey, like, it's kind of what I've done my whole life, and I've worked in it, and I see a lot. I see more than the average bear. Okay,
right.
With football, I just can enjoy it. I know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just love the game. I really do. So watch out for the DC XFL team coming back. Yeah. And I actually, you want a quick side football story?
Sure.
I was talking with my brother. My brother is a season ticket holder for the Washington football team. All right, and I was asking him this week, what do you think the names are going to be, or where they at? Do you have any insight in the name? And he goes, yeah, they sent us a bunch of stuff like for names and like what name would you want, and just polling the fans like they would. And he says he thinks they're just going to stick with the Washington football team.
I've heard that too.
And I said, yeah. And I said, why? He says, think about it. It's unique. No one else has it. He goes, I'd get rid of the W in the circle. Like, I'd maybe like play on the thing, but it's like it would make us very unique, and then you don't have to worry about this ever again.
Right.
He did say too, he's like, look, whatever name you pick, it's never changing ever again, not for 100 years.
Right.
Right. So it's like outside Seminoles, which would be Sentinels, not Seminole, that's Florida. Sentinels would be a cool name, but he's got a great point, And then you got the Cleveland Indians are about to finish up as the Indians and pick a new name.
Yeah.
Although I think they do have a cool name set up, if I'm not mistaken.
They haven't announced it yet, but they've obviously given this a lot of thought, and they are ready to make a change. Yeah.
Right, and again, they have a name that I believe makes sense. My brother, I can't remember what my brother was telling me. And then again, obviously Atlanta, the Braves are not changing their names, and the Chicago Blackhawks are not changing their names, at least not for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that the Washington football team might remain the Washington football team.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to feel about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it is going to be interesting. Yeah, supposedly the Indians have not revealed the name change yet to anyone, but they are basically, they have locked something in. They are ready to go. So I'm sure that'll leak at some point. We'll figure that out. But yeah. It'll be interesting to see what Washington does, what the Washington football team does. Obviously, it's a shift for a lot of us. I personally would like to see them take on something else, whether it's the Sentinels, the Red Wolves, the Red Tails, whatever it may be. But it's going to be interesting to see which direction they go, and they obviously are going to hopefully make a decision one way or the other sooner rather than later. So,
right. But now it's time for the
mashup of the week.
Mashup of the day.
Yes, it's the mashup. It's time for the mashup. There we go, folks. That was an okay intro. It was okay.
Mashup and the Jets. No.
The Jets are terrible. The mashups are fun. The mashup for this week.
Take your two y'all. Mashup. No, it doesn't work. Never mind.
Actually, you know what's been happening in a lot of trailers lately? We had the He-Man trailer from Kevin Smith. We had the Guardians trailer.
Yeah.
Every trailer now seems to be using Bonnie Tyler's "Holding Out for a Hero."
Yeah. I need a hero.
Yeah, exactly. I need a mashup. So there we go. So time for the mashup of the week. As you get our horrible singing voices. Let's move on from this. Which athlete should be part
one of us is horrible
of the time variance authority, the TVA? What athlete should be part of the TVA in the Marvel Universe? Lee, you kick it off. What are your thoughts?
I come up with these things.
I know, that's why you kick it off.
You always, it's funny. I was thinking about this earlier. One athlete I'd certainly like to see in Loki's position use the TVA in the same way is Tiger Woods, because this guy, I feel, he's somehow reached the point that we all feel bad for him.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, which again, when he cheated on his wife, we were all like, that's rough to see a guy fall from the top. You don't like to see that. People do. Then he got in that car crash not too long ago, and he's severely injured. I kind of want to see him go into the TVA and be like, okay, what are my other realities like when I don't have a father that, maybe puts me in these positions when I'm younger? And I saw the documentary about Earl Woods, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'm convinced that Tom Brady is a member of the TVA and that he's just using younger versions of himself to pop up each season. That would explain quite a bit. But, when I look at this question, Ray, it really comes down to, what's an athlete who's on a trajectory that got shifted that maybe could have been great, right, and didn't quite get there. And I start thinking about things like, man, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dan Marino in the TVA.
That was actually kind of building on mine. Mine was going to be Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, right. They win four Super Bowls.
Went four in a row. Right, exactly.
I think of Jeremy Roenick, who never won a Stanley Cup. I think of a lot of players that never won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Right. I think Wayne Gretzky stays in Edmonton, but then I was like, no, that would actually probably not been good for hockey. But that's what I think about. And then there's the funny ones too. Like, I'd love for Shaq to have to be in the TVA and hit his head on the laser door every time it opens, and like, oh man, what was that?
Yeah.
But like, those are the things I think about. Is like an athlete who had a really rough career that maybe could have had something special, and just didn't. You know what I mean? But I think Tiger Woods is my answer because it's just rough to watch what happened to him, and he was so close to hitting immortality.
Yes.
And the thing is, Lance Armstrong's kind of one for me. Like I loved him growing up, and he just broke my heart. You know what I mean, with the doping. But I guess that kind of falls in the same realm as like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. Like you can't change that. Right, but Tiger Woods. I mean, I would love to have seen a multiverse where he just doesn't do that stuff and becomes the greatest in the world. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Like I said, the one I was thinking of was Jim Kelly with the Buffalo Bills, 4 straight Super Bowls. Again, so close, especially in a couple of those games, and then although I am happy the Giants won one of those, but. There's so many others that you could the 90s Knicks, the entire 90s. The 90s Knicks, the Rangers in 2014, the Stanley Cup there. Jazz. The Jazz against the Bulls. I honestly, there's a few you could do. I would say, Patrick Ewing and the Knicks of the 90s, Jim Kelly and the Monstars. The Monstars. Yeah, I mean those are kind of the obvious ones of from some guys for me for sure. So I think I put Jim Kelly up there. Put Patrick Ewing, Henrik. Jim Kelly's a good one. That's solid. I didn't think of that one off the top of my head, but we had the same thinking, which is just an athlete who just didn't quite. Yeah, that for some reason or another, sometimes it's part of his control, sometimes not. So. Right. Then I don't want to go here, but then there's other ones where great athletes don't do well. Yeah. But we're not going to do that. Yeah. Well, that too. Even at baseball, Don Mattingly. Glorious purpose. I would say, Don Mattingly never winning a World Series for the Yankees. He one of the best players in baseball. I was going to say this. Don Mattingly never hurts his back. Don Mattingly never hurts his back in the late 80s. Don Mattingly's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt in my mind. Right. Because you look at Mattingly's two careers. You look at the 2 careers. First 7 years and last 7 years. 2 completely different players from when he hurt his back. Right. So. Right, it's true. But that's Jose Canseco just doesn't become Jose Canseco. Yeah, well, he's a wacko. So, he's out there. Mike Tyson. Yeah, that's another good one. What happens with boxing and Tyson if Tyson doesn't? Like Logan Paul just doesn't exist. Well, that would be a fun universe. I would love Mike Tyson to fight Logan Paul. Now I'm thinking about it, but that'll never happen. So Mike Tyson would kill him. Like even even current Mike Tyson would kill him. I think. I mean, literally. Yeah. Kill him. And I'd be okay with that. Be in jail. Terrible thing to say, but that whatever happens in the ring happens in the ring. So to quote Ivan Drago. Yeah. If he dies, he dies. Yeah. I mean, I'm not wishing it upon him, but if Tyson hits him the wrong way. Speaking of, Rocky IV getting re-released here, director's cut coming soon. I'm actually looking forward to that. I wish they would remake Rocky III. I still think Rocky III outside Rocky I is the best film, but Rocky IV, I'll watch that again. Oh, for sure. Actually, very quick, one game I did not mention all the way back at the beginning of the show. Oh, you did not mention this. You're right. They're making a Rocky boxing video game. First boxing video game really in years from anybody. That's coming out later this year. It's called Creed. The last one was on PS2, something like that. I don't think it was that far. Yeah, I played it. It's definitely been like a decade, but Creed Champions. Oh, it's been a while. Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah. I was living in Nutley when that game came out. Yeah, Creed Champions. We're talking 2007. Is coming out. It's all the boxers from Rocky history, Rocky in his prime, Apollo and Adonis Creed.
You've got Ivan Drago and his son.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah, Clubber Lang. Everybody's going to be in it. Very curious to see how it happens with that
beautiful.
game. So, one more game.
Rocky's coming back in a big way. Stallone's bringing Rocky back again. And, Michael B. Jordan. And
Creed
Michael
3,
B.
right?
Jordan. Yeah, he's directing it. Look, Sylvester Stallone has Sly's completely handed the keys to him.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, the kid played his dues over 2 films. So
Yeah.
and he beat Drago again.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, great episode, Ray.
Yes, this was a very good one. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to episode 111 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We really appreciate it. We got another good one coming next week, of course, with Nintendo E3 news and, of course, more Loki, plus whatever else happens over the course of the week. We, of course, appreciate you all tuning in, though. As always, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. We're everywhere. GeeksWhoLikeSports.com. But for Lee, I am Ray. Good night, everybody. Take care. Be well. Have a great rest of your week. And we will see you next week with episode 112 of Geeks Who Like Sports. This has been 111. Good night.